right, welcome to Xbox International, and let us know if you can hear us today. If we have no echo, hopefully, we have no technical issues. We've been having some lately, but I think we have everything sorted out. So today, episode 42. Unfortunately, Crazy Lou, um, our what did you call it? The flight attendants. Our flight attendant is not here today. Maybe he might jump in. Soon. We'll see about that. But he's not here today. But we do have our captain that's finally back again. He's been traveling the world, cooking and doing his stuff. How you doing today, Silent Cypher?
Dude, I'm doing okay. I'm not gonna lie. I just got a bit of a seasonal head cold, so I apologize if my voice isn't as crisp as usual. But I'm doing all right. Doing all right. Going into a long weekend, I'm hoping to get some more Call of Duty in this weekend. I'm just hoping to play some more games in general. It's been busy, like you said. I've been flying all over the place. Crazy Louie was acting up, so I had to kick him out the door of the plane, and so we hit a little bit of turbulence. But this week we got this. We got this. Okay, like if you need a drink, I will get you the drink instead of Crazy doing that for you.
Do you think he was causing the technical issues? I mean,
it might have been. Yes, it depends. Like if everything's good this time, we know what the deciding factor was, right?
Yeah, I guess so. But anyway, let's jump into our new panelist, which was kind of announced last week, but unfortunately we had to delete the episode because of technical issues. But hey, Plume, welcome to the team. It's a pleasure having you here. How you been doing?
We tried last week with the intro, but the technical issues. I thought I was the issue as the newest panel member, but it definitely seems like it's Crazy's fault with what was going on last week. So at least we figured that out. But happy to be here. Happy to talk games today. It's gonna be a fun night.
Yeah, man.
You're coming in loud and clear. Everything's sounding good on your side, so it's definitely a Crazy Louie issue. Real quick, Sour, before you jump into things, I just to commemorate us having this awesome new panel member, I wanted to harken back to something previous. I'm cracking a beer for you, buddy.
Oh, so, nice.
I'm gonna crack myself open a Big Bad Baptist with toasted coconut. So that is what I am drinking this evening, sir.
Awesome. Looks like a big beer. I'm drinking a called ESB Embrun Style Bitter. It's like a craft localish style beer. It's really good. Really, really good.
Well, I'm out of whiskey. I'm drinking water.
That's why you're flying the plane tonight.
Yeah, exactly. You're our DD, sir.
Oh, no, I'm just here because doing the introduction because Crazy's not here. Crazy's much better with his energy doing the introduction. But hey, I'm glad that it seems seems the audio it's fine. Seems everything's fixed. The plane was having some network issues, so that's why we got Plume, the expert. He has his Plume network, and I guess that's the best network for our flight.
5G.
5G. Yep. But anyway, let's start with you, Plume. What have you been playing lately?
So I've been jumping in the last couple of days into Bayonetta 3 on the Nintendo Switch. Just absolutely incredible game. Very happy that I did not decide to boycott it because I'm having a ton of fun with it. I've played all of the Bayonettas. This is a franchise I really enjoy. And this one, there's some new stuff. Some new stuff like summoning these big monsters that you fight with. And there's like some side missions that have like some side scrolling stuff in it. It's pretty cool. I have a feeling by the time I'm done with it, it's probably going to be one of my favorite games this year, but I guess we'll wait and see. And then other than that, I've been jumping into Call of Duty pretty much every night, just like an hour or so playing some matches.
Have you finished that campaign yet?
Yeah, I finished it before like the
Oh yeah. I think you said it last week, yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
Speaking of Call of Duty, Silent, I know you've been playing some Call of Duty.
I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty. I was a little bit disappointed in the fact that I discovered that they have the prestige option locked until season 1, because my brother and I both ended up hitting level 55. I think it was on Thursday or Friday last week.
Damn.
So we're maxed out, and now we're just leveling up some of the guns and playing around with it. But man, I just like the beta was, where when I was playing that, I felt like the learning curve was super stiff. I felt like I just sucked at games all of a sudden and couldn't play that one. Like, we discovered that I'm not good at Forza Horizon like I used to be. We discovered that quite a bit, and I felt like maybe I had lost my Call of Duty skills as well, because I was getting just my butt handed to me nonstop in the beta and at the beginning of this. But the learning curve and the upgrades for the weapons, as you level up, man, it just opens up so much more, and it gets so much easier. And I've been having a blast with it. That's honestly the only game I've really been playing besides my usual creature comfort of Slay the Spire here and there whenever I've just got like a few minutes to play around on cloud. But what about you? What have you been playing?
Well,
you dipped in a little bit on Call of Duty with us for a minute this weekend.
yes, I did. Since we're talking Call of Duty, I played twice, I would say, the multiplayer, and like you, well, even worse, I just suck. So I started the campaign. I played, I would say I got the first, is it by chapters? Or,
Yeah, you're talking about the campaign, right?
yeah, the campaign.
Yes.
Okay, I would say I played the first chapter and I'm almost done with the second one. But I haven't had much time. But I did finish a Plague's Tale Requiem recently. Wonderful game. I love the game. It's pretty good. Have you, Plume, jumped into Plague's Tale Requiem yet, or?
No, not yet, because I just finished Innocence, which
Yeah.
from your suggestion, which I absolutely love. So I'm probably gonna take a bit of time, take a breather from
Yeah.
Plague's Tale before I get into Requiem, but I'm definitely gonna play it.
Yeah, it's I highly recommend it. My Probably my game of the year so far, for me personally. So anyway, let's kind of take off. What do you think, Captain?
Well, real quick before we jump into that, it sounds like maybe we're having a little bit of level issues between you and me. You're maybe a little bit too loud, and I'm a little bit too quiet.
Okay, how about Plume?
Plume is just right. It's a
Plume is
Goldilocks
perfect.
scenario.
Okay, so Plume is perfect, and I'm too loud. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, so crazy saying it too. He says my audio's low, which I'm like, I'm right on the mic.
Okay, let me know.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm right on the mic.
Okay, so I made some changes. If it doesn't change, please let us know, chat. Before we go flight itinerary, what were we gonna talk about? We're gonna talk about some possible movies coming into video games, and then video games popping into movies, having film adaptations, and then we're gonna talk about the growth of Sony's strategy for further growth, and then what's the roadmap for Xbox 2023. I think we got some pretty cool topics we're gonna talk about, and we also have a pretty nice video for you about Halo TV series, which let's say we did a little fix to it. You'll see. Yeah, I think you guys will enjoy the surprise. But anyway, Captain, take it away.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, Captain Sour has turned on the subscribe button. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Please store your food and beverages next to your desk, underneath the seat, or in front of you. Please take your seat and fasten your seatbelt. Also, make sure that your seat is set back and you have hit that notification bell. We gently remind you that smoking and drinking are not prohibited on this flight. However, Crazy Louie bombarding the chat with stories about 150 beers is strictly prohibited. If If you have any questions about today's flight, please don't hesitate to ask one of our panelists. Thank you.
All right, let's start with some opening topics right away, and let's begin with Liongate is making a AAA John Wick video game. Well, at least that's in their plans. In their earnings, investor earnings, John, I might mispronounce his name, John Feldermeer noted.
Timer.
Oh,
Good try.
Feldheimer. Good try. Well, he has a proposal. I have a note. I have a quote here. He says, "I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but we believe there is a AAA game to be made out of John Wick. We have been fielding proposal. We certainly are interested in moving forward, but I don't want to say anything more about that at this time." Now, we know the success that John Wick has had. I mean, it has 3 movies already. There's a 4th coming. I would say not John Wick. So sorry. Damn, I can't get his name. John Wick actor. Keanu Reeves. Sorry, I was saying Keanu Reeves is very popular in the gaming industry. We all know him from Cyberpunk too. Like, we know his movies, of course. So, first of all, let's start with you, Plume. Do you think that a John Wick video game could be successful, and how do you envision a John Wick game?
So, yeah, definitely, I think it will be successful. My vision. So first, I have to make a confession. You guys are gonna hate me for this one.
Oh.
I haven't watched. I've never seen John Wick. I know what it's about. I've seen the trailers. I haven't watched the series. But I like for that style of game. It reminds me of like a Max Payne or like a Stranglehold. I don't know if you guys played that one back on the 360, with like the bullet time shooting and the Matrix stuff in it. Super cool. I would love to see that come back because I love the Max Payne games. I really liked Stranglehold. So if they could do something along those lines and create like a third-person action game like that with just big explosions and just tons of great fun gunplay, I'd be all for that.
Definitely. I personally, I agree with you. Max Payne was what came into my mind when I saw this news. I'm like, this is like Max Payne, so yeah. it will be pretty cool. What about you, Silent? Like, what do you envision the game? Do you envision a third person, a first person game, and do you think it could be successful or not?
I think it's got to be third person, right? For first person, I just don't see for something like that. I definitely. It pulls back to those Max Payne
Yes.
days, Stranglehold, like Plume was saying. It's got that DNA to it. It definitely feels like that type of style. So I could definitely see something like that being the case for that. Am I excited about it? Absolutely. You have no idea how hard it is to not show my kids those movies. Like, I so want to show them those because I just enjoy them so much. And it's just one of those things where it's like I would love to watch those with them, but they're too violent for my kids.
Yeah, definitely.
But to have a game like that, yeah, I mean, see, the idea of that definitely brings me back to the fact that like we have a Max Payne 1 and 2 remaster that are coming out also. And so I was super stoked about that. I was like, oh my gosh, like,
yeah,
we're starting to almost see like a renaissance for some of those type of shooters again. And that's why I think this one could easily be a third person, is it fits very well into that mold.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if you give me that, and you know that Keanu Reeves is more than likely going to come in and do the voice work because he's shown he's got a willingness to lend his talents where needed.
Yeah. So, he's also not a kind of person that he will ask for too much money. Like, even though he's worth like he's worth a lot. He's a
Not
he's.
gonna pull a Bayonetta. Oh, too soon. Sorry.
Oh man.
No, I agree. It seems like he is. He seems like he's a very gracious guy when it comes
Yes.
to a lot of that stuff. Everything, like every time that we see him in these different vid docs, or like when we saw him at the game, what E3 when they showed the stuff for Cyberpunk, he just has a sincere nature to him. And so, like, I'm sure if they're like, "Hey, man, we want you to do this as well," like, he would be in there in a heartbeat.
Okay.
So that gets me excited. I would absolutely love a John Wick game. Now, granted, we did have
Look.
a John Wick game.
Hold on. Looks like
Yeah,
Crazy is gonna
it was
hop
really-
in.
Yeah, that one I heard was really bad though.
It was good, but it was not what you would expect for a John Wick game, right? So it was John Wick
Yeah.
X, and it was very much like a turn-based type of thing. And it was cool, but it just isn't what you would expect for a John Wick game. Like, you expect a bunch of action, a bunch of non-stop movement. It was not that. It was
X seems like way too slow of a gameplay style for this character. For this,
yes,
yeah.
100%. So
Okay.
Hello, good evening.
Hold on, Crazy. Not yet, Crazy. Give me a second.
Oh, super low on everybody.
Okay. Now you're on.
Hey, what's up, everybody here? On vacation. What's up? Hello. Man, I hope my sound is better than. But yes, I will check everybody's sound though. How was everything, guys? Everything good?
good.
Good.
Did y'all miss me?
How many?
Oh wait. No, I think you're too loud.
Lou, are you frozen or are you smiling?
He's wincing in pain. You know, it's fine. It's fine.
Lou, are you 150 beers deep right now?
No, not yet. I had like 3 or 4, but not yet. I'm not that deep yet. Nah, guys, I'm not that deep yet. But hey, just to tell you guys to check on the sound. Have a great episode, and I'll keep on watching. Have fun, guys.
All right.
All
kick
right.
me back out the plane. See ya.
All right. Oh, throw me the parachute. Bye, guys. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Did any of you throw the parachute or?
Oh, shucks. We didn't buy the DLC, so I can provide that for him.
Oh man. Well, let us
So
know.
Sorry, I have people in the chat here saying that they can barely hear, so I'm not sure.
Oh really?
Is it me? Please tell me it's not me.
Let me see something. Okay, hopefully this fixes it. Okay, while we wait for to see if they can now hear us, what do you guys think? Like, Silent, since you were giving your take, what studio would you pick for to make the game if you had to choose one studio?
Oh goodness. You know what? If they weren't already so occupied with other things, I think that Remedy would be really cool for that, especially being as they've got that origin for Max Payne and stuff, right? Like, they did Max Payne, Alan Wake, Control, Quantum Break. So they've got that DNA. I could see that as being a really cool thing. The thing that would be real fun is if all of a sudden, out of nowhere, John Woo suddenly surprises us and says, "Guess what? I'm coming back and I'm making this game." You know, in the same vein as Stranglehold, here is John Wick, the video game. Enjoy. And massive amounts of doves fly past explosions every 2 seconds for the whole game.
Alright.
But no, in all reality, if Remedy were a possibility, that would be my bet all day.
Okay, what about you, Plume? Do you have any choice or any studio in
Who
mind?
made Control? Was that 505?
No,
So
Remedy.
It was Remedy.
Remedy.
Oh,
It was
Remedy.
published
Okay. Okay, pie post. Okay, so I guess I'm on the same line as you, but my other thought would be they should hopefully be like the Initiative's next game, and if it's comes to Game Pass day one. That's my other hope for John.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like that because it would be kind of like they would have shipped already Perfect Dark, so they would have experience with that type of game. But the thing is, I think maybe I'm wrong, but I believe Perfect Dark is gonna be first person. So then I guess they can shift into that, especially if they keep working with Crystal Dynamic.
Yeah, you take a look at what Crystal did with Tomb Raider, they could easily shift to making a third-person action game.
So yeah, that's basically a movie becoming a video game. But now let's see another topic that's kind of the other way around, where we have Gears of War is getting its own movie adaptation. Now, I don't know if you guys are excited for that, but I was excited for that. As soon as I saw that information, I'm like, what? And it's also getting an animated TV series, which I believe it's rated for mature. Maybe I'm wrong. I have here the information. I have here the upcoming film series will be produced and partner with the Coalition, the developers behind Gears of War's games. Gears of War joins a formidable slate of upcoming video games adaptation on Netflix, including Assassin's Creed, Sonic Prime, and BioShock. And of course, there's more, which doesn't specify. But let's start with you, Plume. Like, what are you more excited for? The actual film movie, the live action, or the animated TV series? And do you have any cast in mind or any ideas? How would you like the live action to be?
I would say right now I'm always kind of skeptical when it comes to taking games and turning them into a live action series. I mean, we look at kind of what they did with Halo, and I wasn't a huge fan of the Halo TV series. I don't really like what they did with Master Chief, and I found that they just kind of took the franchise to appeal to a broad audience so as many people could enjoy it as possible. And like, that's cool if that's what you want to do. But for me, a live action TV series from a video game, I'm interested if they're appealing to the people that have played the games and the core fan base of it. That's what get me excited. So I'm kind of skeptical of what Netflix is going to do with the live action, if they're going to go the Halo route or if they're going to stick to like the characters and the way that they are in the video games and then try to transition that to a TV show. If they do that, I'll be extremely pumped. So I guess that's a long-winded way to answer that. I'm more excited for the animation because there's probably more. They probably don't have to do what they did with Halo. If they're appealing to an adult audience, they can really kind of look at the lore of Gears and really match it one-to-one for what's going to be going on in an animation. And then it's just like, I'm always excited to see like well done animation, like Cyberpunk. I don't know if you guys watched that on Netflix, that anime. That was really cool. So I love watching that kind of stuff. And in terms of cast, it's hard. Like so Marcus Phoenix, Batista would be like perfect because he obviously wants to play the role. Obviously that one to me is a no-brainer. And then for Cole Train, it would be Lester Spite. I think would be a great
Yes.
A great character, great actor for him. The other two, Dom and Barrett, I don't know. I'd have to think about that one a bit more. Those ones are still up to grabs for me. But yeah.
Yeah, I like the Cold Train, and I believe maybe I'm wrong, but I believe Umbra in another podcast said that since he's a little bit older, maybe you can change around the story where he's not like a current athlete, more like a retired. Yeah. Which you can make it work, and I think he's perfect. The other actor that I would add is the Homelander guy. I think it's Anthony Starr.
Yeah.
I think is his name. Yes, I think he would be perfect for that. No, not John Cena. Come on. but hey, is that one of your cast choice? let's go with you. What's your cast and what are you more excited about?
You know what? No one's gonna like my opinions on this one, so we're just gonna throw this out in the wind. I think Bear taking by Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph. Wait, isn't he what's his name? Damn, from Rocky?
Ivan Drago.
Drago, yeah, him.
Yeah. I
No. Come on.
could be a little too old for the role.
Yeah,
Could be just a bit.
just a bit, just a little bit.
These guys are all old at this point, right?
Yeah.
So you know,
Oh,
Dave
so,
Bautista seems like a really good idea, though.
silent. The chat says they can't hear you. Is there any way on your side? I guess they hear you either very low. I think it's low,
How
probably.
about now? How about now? Let's see what we have now. I bumped up the mic gain a little bit, so fingers crossed. Yodani Kazada actually brings up a really good point. Dominic Purcell.
Oh.
Someone also mentioned that earlier.
Yes.
Dominic from Prison Break.
Yeah.
Obviously, like what Blade?
Yeah.
Is it Blade Trinity? I forget what else he was in, but yeah, in Prison Break he was always really good. He would be a really good one to have in
Yeah.
there as well.
Yeah, he would be pretty good.
But I think just because I'm like an 80s and 90s action star junkie, I think somehow we just got to figure out how to put Jean-Claude Van Damme in there.
Oh my god.
Have Dolph Lundgren. We need to.
Can,
Maybe you just have Dom as Sylvester Stallone.
can
I
I?
was gonna say if Dolph Lundgren's in there, I'm changing my entire cast. Like Sylvester Stallone has to be in there, Mr. T has to be in it. Like,
Can I?
change the entire
Can-
cast.
can I-
Mr. T is Coltrane.
Can I make can I make a suggestion? I'm gonna make a small suggestion so you can add them all. Just make them all what's his name? Caroline?
All Carmine.
Carmine, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just kill them one by one.
All
Yeah.
truly
They-
expendable.
They take off their helmets and you see like fly Mr. T pop. That'd be hilarious. That should be the animation. That'd be great.
That would be pretty funny.
He's like, hey, there's nothing mentally irregular about this emotion, you know. And then he just gets downed, and we keep on.
Oh man.
We should write the show.
You know, in another life.
What?
So yeah, chat. I don't know if I'm coming through better, but please drop some messages in the chat and just let me know if it's sounding a little bit better. But moving on.
Okay, well, moving on real quick before we jump into the main topics. We did posted a few polls, one last week and one this week. So I'm curious what the panel thinks about what would be their choices. The first one was, let's see, what November game are you most excited for? And obviously we're now in November, but I'm curious. The choices were Sonic Frontier, Evil West, Pokemon Violet, and God of War Ragnarok. Now, even though this is a Xbox centric, podcast or channel, but we do talk gaming in general, I was pretty surprised with the results. So the results were pretty quick. Sonic Frontier actually tied with Evil West at 36%. We had Pokemon Violet at 8%, and then we had God of War Ragnarok with 20%, which I thought it would have been the clear winner, but obviously, apparently, they're also excited for Sonic Frontier and Evil West. What about you guys? What are your choices? Like, Plume, what would be your pick out of these four games? Or is there any game that's not here that's you're most excited about to play this month?
No, one of those four games would be in my top excitement for November. I'm gonna go with God of War. I mean, out of those four, I want to play them all. Like Evil West is a new IP that I'm excited to see what that's all about. That has me really pumped. And I think that's gonna be one of those games that has a lot of new fans after it comes out. Sonic, I want to play, but I'm going to be and Sonic's already out. God of War's already out, and I'm gonna play God of War before I play Sonic, so God of War gets my vote for what I'm most excited for.
What about you, Silent? Any pick out of those four, or
Sonic.
really?
Absolutely Sonic. Why not?
Well,
Give the little blue monster some love. Why not?
well, because of my son, I know I definitely have to purchase that game. So, but personally, I'm excited for all four of them. To be honest, if I had a Switch, I would probably say Pokemon would be the one I would be most excited for. Surprisingly, I really like the change and approach on this Pokemon. So, that would be the one I would be more interested in. But other than that, I would say God of War and then Sonic, then Evil West.
So I have a question. I usually follow the Pokemon games, but I haven't followed these ones. Is this one like the older style, or is this one like Arceus?
It's like Arceus.
Okay,
But
because I really liked Arceus, so maybe that's gonna move up my list a little bit.
It's like Arceus in the way, the art design and how it looks more open world. However, it's the old style where you are actually a trainer and you're gonna do Pokemon battles and all that. So that's that's kind of what I like. The other poll, real quick, it's what was your favorite October game, which we had Gotham Knights at 17%, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 at 29%, A Plague's Tale Requiem at 50%, and then Bayonetta 3 at 4%. So sorry, Plume. I guess isn't Bayonetta 3 your October game, or am I wrong?
Yeah, that would be mine. Yeah, I haven't even finished yet, but just because I just jumped into it like a couple days ago, but came out in October, but I love it. Like I said at the beginning, it's probably going to be my game of the year talk, unless it like completely drops off by the end of it.
All right. Did we lose our captain?
Nope. I should be here. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. Real quick, for me, Plague Tale Requiem would be my choice. I kind of probably already said that. But what about you, Simon? What was your October favorite game? COD?
Yeah, it was Campaign of COD. That was about all for me. Because I was at a lot, I did not play a lot of stuff over that time. I sure wish I could say that as I was off all that time, I got through a bunch of the backlog. I didn't. I did not get into any of the backlog, to be honest. I played a little bit of Slay the Spire while I was out of town. Some Call of Duty, but Call of Duty, I think, is the one that's kept my attention the most out of everything I've played over the last month or two.
All right. Well,
they say they can't hear me.
They can't hear Silent.
Oh, really? They can't hear him at all?
That doesn't make any sense. Because you guys can hear me.
Yes. Can't hear hardly anything.
It's very low. I can hear him. I can.
Can't.
So it's not my mic, because I swapped my mic just now from my Yeti, or from my shirt to my Yeti.
But then it's weird, because, why? Is it picking you, Plume, up?
It's picking him up just fine. I think it's just not picking me up.
Okay, let me bump you up a lot. Okay.
At least I think it's picking him up.
Well, hopefully that fixes the issue. I bumped you up a bunch.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, let me go quickly and give a shout out to the chat. Kind of like Crazy does it. And I'll try to be faster than him, okay? So let me try. Let's see. Okay, shout out to Mr. Drana Dark, which was the first one. It's Timmy. Shout out to It's Timmy here every week. Talis Ree. Kami28. Welcome, Kami. Tony Grasso. Thank you for hopping in. Vic Lick Lick. I can't do the whole familia and all that. I don't have that energy. Sorry, Vic. Shout out to, let's see. I thought I saw someone else here. John Henson, Sappho, Jordani Casada, shout out. Wandering Dutch also. And okay, that'll be the chat for now, and let's jump into our main topics. What do you say, Captain?
I guess it all just depends on if people can hear me.
I think you're much louder now.
Am I much louder now? Do I need to tweak it down, or are we good?
I think you're good.
Donnie says it's better, so it must have just been the defaulted my gain when I shifted to the other mic.
Okay.
So okay, well bear with us. Apparently we have
we still have technical issues.
We gotta purchase some new planes.
Yeah. Gotta stop getting the cheap
fix
one.
the old ones.
Eventually you just gotta replace it and know when to cut your losses, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah. So if things seem to be better now, which hopefully I'm not blowing people's eardrums out now, but hopefully this is better. Feel free to let us know down there in the chat. But in regards to the main topics this week, so we're going to jump into some of PlayStation's growth strategy. Looks like maybe they're ramping up for some competition. So we found out, obviously we know that Discord is going to end up coming to PlayStation in March of 2023. So Sony's PS5 console release was missing many features, but slowly has been adding a bunch of requested features. They've revised their console several times in order to produce more. So we've seen a lot of the revisions over the last little bit with the hardware side of things. Obviously, some of that has been money-saving techniques as well. But you've also seen some apps get some upgrades as well. Discord, we've seen VRR support, 1440p support. There's been a lot starting to come to the system, which kind of leads the thought that as time has been, more favorable to Xbox for the last little bit with some of the different upgrades and some of the functionality, Sony's finally starting to catch up on some of those things as well. We also found out with PlayStation's London studio working on an online co-op combat game that's set in fantasy London. So they're also working on the software side. Apparently, London studio, VR Focus Studio, as best known for SingStar and Blood and Truth, are taking on a new challenge with this online co-op game. Speaking to the SIE blog, co-studio heads Stuart White and Tara Saunders shared more details about it, which they call the most ambitious project to date for the development team. In addition, they also shared some new artwork for it, showing a battle against a dragon as the face of Big Ben glows in the distance. So it looks like hardware side of things, app side of things starting to align the way that they need to be, or maybe that they needed to be like in the first place. But obviously, the last couple of years have been a bit of a strain on the system, right? I guess the question I would have for you guys, just to start this thing off, is with some of these initial things that we're talking about, do you think this is a reactive Sony in regards to where Microsoft is in the market at the moment? Or do you think this is just par for the course? This was stuff that was planned in the first place. Plume, what are your thoughts on it?
I think this is absolutely a reactive Sony to what Xbox is doing. Like, I think that they are looking at their business right now, and the majority of their first-party games, I think, I'm trying to think of which ones aren't the single-player cinematic experience. I guess Destruction All-Stars that came out that completely flopped.
Yeah.
but so I don't even know if that one counts. I guess technically it does, but I think it's definitely reactive. They're seeing where the industry is going in terms of live service stuff, in terms of online co-op, in terms of games that aren't one and dones, where the production cost doesn't have to be as exorbitant as like I'm sure God of War had a really high production cost, and the only way they're able to make that back is to try to sell like 20 million copies of it, right? Or they can put out a game and then just continuously make money throughout years or however long these games last, which Xbox does a great job with a lot of their more online centered games. And then I think also I think the pandemic played a huge role as well with this, where you look at what happened with like the chip shortage, the logistics of all this stuff, how it slowed down how many PlayStation 5s they were able to push out to people. And it definitely had an effect on the type of games I think that they are deciding to make in the future. Because you look at Xbox, you look at their ecosystem, you look at the type of games they had. Although they couldn't get as much consoles out there, they could still get people into Xbox playing these games on other platforms, on PC and through the cloud. So I think they're kind of looking at everything right now and kind of restructuring in a way so that in the next couple of years they are more along the lines of Xbox. Like I've said multiple times on my channel and my videos that PlayStation, they're still denying that they're going to be putting their first party games into PlayStation Plus, but I think that they will be doing this at some point in the next couple of years to try to increase the amount of subscribers they have for PlayStation Plus, especially when we're seeing with their recent financials, although the revenues are up, their subscribers have fallen, and they don't want to see that happening. One way to get that increased is to put multiplayer games into the subscription service that a bunch of people play, with co-op games, and then put your first party content in there as well. So I think it's definitely a reaction to what Xbox's strategy is doing, how successful it's been this generation.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that side of things. I think more for me, it's, you know, we see it every generation. And I know I've beat on this drum before, but it's one of those things where like when the competition brings their A game and they start to fight back, you see that change in demeanor on the other side, right? Like 360 crushed PlayStation for a long part of the original generation in PS3. And then as time went on, obviously PS3 caught up over time and stuff. But Microsoft was so used to that cadence and the fact that they were kind of the market leader at that point. So then suddenly Microsoft took it on the chin when they announced their plans for Xbox One. And then it flips again, right? Like now we're seeing an Xbox that's more aggressive than what they were in the previous time. Obviously, change in management, all of that affects that as well. But I definitely think there is a lot more reactionary to this side of things. But Sour, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think as this continues on, do you think we're going to start to see a real ramp up from Sony just in general, like on the extra games, the different types of games and stuff? Like I know that they always tout the fact that they've got these really cinematic first person experiences, these campaign, these solo experiences and stuff. Do you think that's going to change as time goes on, as they realize, just like what Plume was saying, you know, getting those multiplayer experiences out there, getting some of those things that can get you an extra return on your investment or ROI? Do you think they're going to start to expand their portfolio or diversify it to an extent?
Sorry. Okay. Yes, for sure. I mean, I think, well, if you look at them, they are kind of already doing it. They're partnering with a lot of other studios. You have Deviation. You have that other studio with the Haven studio, which they ended up purchasing. And you know, behind the scenes, we have heard a lot of rumors. They're working on this. They're doing factions is coming next year probably. You know, they are working on a lot of multiplayer games. Some of them might fail, and they know that. That's why they have multiple projects in the work. But I think the reason why, you know, like kind of like Plume was kind of saying, is that, you know, they don't want to just tell their current customers that, or you know, their fans, oh, we are just gonna completely forget about the cinematic third action, uh, games that you love so much, and we're gonna do a bunch of multiplayer games. They don't want to tell them that yet, but eventually we're gonna see more and more of that because they do see that the market is changing. These games are the money makers, and unfortunately for them, also even the whole market is changing with how people want to play games. Like with Game Pass, it's kind of like so accessible to players that it's becoming something that like a lot of people are like interested. Oh, is the games coming to Game Pass? Oh, it's not coming to Game Pass. Maybe I'll wait if I'm not, that into that game. So the whole market is kind of changing for them. So it's pretty interesting what's gonna happen. What's gonna be their approach? I think they're just like we seen them juggling a lot. Like we seen Jim Ryan saying one thing today, and then 3 months later we find out that they're doing the complete opposite. But I think it's because they know that they kind of have their back against what is it, the back
Against the wall.
against the wall, and they're gonna have to change their model eventually, slowly.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely think, especially as we've seen some of these behaviors over the last little bit, awesome quotes like "We believe in generations" comes to mind in a scenario like this,
Oh yeah.
right? Like, if you look at something like that and you look at what they're doing now, you can tell that there is definitely a reactionary nature to almost everything that they've kind of put in place over the last little bit. There have been
Backwards
some
compatibility.
stumbles. Yeah, exactly. Back compat. They're realizing these things and they are starting to take notice. Which, again, like whether you're a Sony guy or not, this is a good thing for us as gamers. Obviously, like we always talk about it, but the competition is always good for us as gamers at the core.
Okay.
So whether Sony's your favorite or not, like at this point, honestly, it doesn't matter if you have a PlayStation because potentially you might see these games on PC sooner than later, also. But that's good because that opens up their markets and allows more sales for them and allows these games to be profitable. Those single player experiences that when it's a one and done, like I think Plume, if I remember correctly, I think you had mentioned that you end up doing physical copies on the PlayStation games.
Yeah,
And that's
absolutely.
the thing of like one and done, and then you get to trade it in, right?
Yeah, because there's no point. I'm never gonna touch that thing again, and it's not like these games are collectible or anything. They're gonna be
Right.
$5 in like a couple of years, so might as well just play it as fast as you can, get through it, trade it in, get some money back, and either GameStop or and you have like the local ads, like people buy them easily. So yeah, doesn't what I think what's going to happen is that virtuous cycle that Jim Ryan continuously mentions is eventually going to dry up. So they're going to be forced to make a change, and they're seeing that now. Like there's no way they're not sitting in the boardroom looking at the numbers and thinking that we have to start slowly adjusting, but we don't want to piss off our core fan base.
Yeah. No, 100%. Um, Speaking of them doing these reactionary things or planning it in the war room, as it was, we also know that PlayStation is building a new studio to work with Naughty Dog on an unannounced game. So, as spotted by VGC, or as spotted on VGC, by a job listing that shows the new team is being created in collaboration with PlayStation Studio Visual Arts, a developer that previously assisted the PlayStation's motion capture, cinematics, animation, and more across several franchises, including Uncharted and The Last of Us. The new developer will then work with Naughty Dog to complete or to create a PlayStation game. Uh, though Sony doesn't say explicitly that the game will be a AAA production, it does does request that the candidate is proficient in all aspects of AAA. Again, going back to Sony's bread and butter for that and what they tout is those AAA games. It's published at least 2 AAA games previously is one of the other requirements. Though nothing is confirmed, hints towards PS Visual Arts becoming a developer of its own project have appeared throughout the last few years. One job listing that we ended up seeing was from 2020, and that showed that the company was hiring for a third-person action adventure. Also, very, very common in the Sony wheelhouse, right? But this one would have melee and ranged combat. So this description would appear to match an Uncharted game, tying in nicely with Naughty Dog collaboration. And the studio's creative director, Sean, and I'm going to butcher his last name, so I'm Eskeg, I think, said earlier that it's a world that they want to see more of in regards to the Uncharted side of things. So potentially we see maybe some spin-offs on that side of things. But yeah, it looks like they are trying to ramp up some more additional games. It bums me out a little bit, and I want your guys' opinion, but when are we going to see them finally accept the fact that they have IPs that are just lying dormant? We've got Killzone, we've got Resistance, we've got these things that they could go back to, and they just choose to kind of turn a blind eye. Now, I understand maybe the sales weren't exactly where they wanted them at that point in time, but I think especially with the technology nowadays, you could make an insane Killzone or a Resistance. Plume, what do you think? Do you think they're gonna eventually go back to the well and start to dig up some of those old IPs, or do you think they're just gonna leave them?
I don't think anytime soon. I think based off of everything we're hearing from Jim Ryan that they really have no interest in trying anything adventurous with their games. They just want to continuously bring out the same things that they know are going to make them a ton of money and sell a ton, and where the risk is much lower than if they were to come back with a Killzone or a new SOCOM or something. I think they would be fine. They would make a good amount of money for them, but probably not to the level that's going to impress, I guess, their shareholders and executives and everything. Because let's be honest, I mean, you have a game like God of War. The 2018 one sold insane. God of War Ragnarok's probably going to sell 20 million copies. Who knows? With both the PS4 and the PS5 sales in there. So I think that they're in the business of what is the lowest risk that will bring us the most profit. And going to the well to these older IPs at this point in the game, especially when you look at what Xbox is doing with Game Pass and cloud gaming, and they're not able to compete on that level yet, I don't think it's in the cards for PlayStation right now.
So you're telling me that there's a chance? No, I'm just kidding.
There's a chance.
What you're telling me is realistically, we're not going to see another siphon filter anytime soon.
Oh man,
No, I don't think so.
That
I would
makes
love
me
it.
very
I
sad.
mean,
that would be right there. My reason to buy a PS5.
Yep.
I guess you're never buying a PS5.
That first game, and I know it's just because of the age I was when I played that game, but there was something so jarring about using those tasers and using the taser long enough that they started to smoke and they eventually caught on fire. That was one of those things in a game where just a detail like that, you're like, why is this here? But also at the same time, this is great. It's terrible, but it's great.
I don't know what you're talking about. When I played that game was fire. That game was.
Oh, it was fire. It was all the bodies that you were tasing. But Sour, I'm hoping that you're going to tell me that we're going to see a new siphon filter. But what are your expectations? Do you think they'll dive to the well, or do you think they're going to continue on with the newer stuff, like what Plume was mentioning?
Well, I talked with my buddy Jim Ryan, and he told me it's easier to make a a remaster remake, director's cut edition, rather than going back in the past and rebooting the franchise. So I agree with Plume. I don't think it's gonna happen, unfortunately. Um, I think they're gonna continue to go to recent games, from the PS4 era and bring them those games. Maybe if they see, an IP that I would say maybe one IP out of all those old great IPs, they might try to bring back to see what happens, but I highly doubt it. It's either new IPs or they're gonna keep giving us remaster remakes. Uh, that's what we're gonna get, unfortunately, and we're gonna get some multiplayers, a lot of multiplayers.
I feel like it's starting to become like the Rambo scenario for these remakes. It's like Rambo 2 First Blood Part 3. It's like it's getting ridiculous. Like, when are we going to see Last of Us remake Part 3 or something? Like, they're going to potentially do this. And I know we see it in the market, right? Like, how many times has Skyrim come out now? Right?
Yes.
Like people see that they can make money on it, so they will make money on it. I get that. It does seem, though, like Sony is maybe trying to reach outside of just their pocket, though, and extend into maybe some other options as well. Because one of the rumors that we found out recently is that Sony is trying to approach, or has approached, Project Red. CD Projekt Red, famous for their Cyberpunk, for Witcher, for all of these games, these really good games. That would be a power move.
That would be.
That would be a big one. Like, I know there was a stumble, obviously, with Cyberpunk when it first came out, but you look at the rest of their previous history, and you look at where Cyberpunk is now after they course corrected. If Sony were to get that group, that would be a big get, honestly, for
Yeah.
me. Sour, would you be frustrated if you had to pull out your Lord of the Rings Tower of Sauron and play your Witcher on that instead of your Xbox?
I mean, like, I would be pissed. I won't deny it, because I would definitely know that I will have to buy a PS5, but I won't be like I see a lot of people jumping into Twitter and making all these comments. At the end of the day, if they purchase it, it's in their right to make their game to make the game exclusive if they need to, if that's what they feel, because it's their purchase, and it will become their studio. So if that happens, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to spend $550, buy myself a PS5, or wait for it to come to PC probably a year later, and play it on PC, or play it on my new PS5. But Witcher for me is a must play, and Cyberpunk was great too. So definitely.
Plume, would this have you jumping over to your PlayStation 5 to sit there and play? Are you a big fan of the CD Projekt Red games, or are you?
I like Witcher. I liked Witcher 3. Ooh, I really love that game. I haven't played Cyberpunk yet. I'm going to, because now all the patches are out and everyone's saying it's good. But I wasn't going to invest my money in a broken game right away. As broken as Cyberpunk was from everything we heard. But if this does happen, I think I agree with you, Simon. It's a huge power move by Sony. I think it would be a great purchase for them. People are going to be running out and buying PS5s to play all of these games. The one thing why I wouldn't be too concerned if this happens, one, I have a PS5, so it doesn't really affect me. But from, like, I guess, a consumer's perspective, it would be just an absolute terrible business move to take these games off of PC. So I wouldn't even foresee them taking them off of the PC. You still be able to grab it day one on PC. So it is what it is. This is the way the industry is going, right? All these big companies are now consolidating to position themselves for the future, which is what I think is going to be subscription services, which Game Pass has a huge lead in right now.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're right. Is like even if they do go CD Project Red side of things, I don't think you take the PC market out in that
No.
situation. If you do that, it feels like you're basically kneecapping yourself and putting yourself at a disadvantage. Like, yes, you're putting the games in a walled garden. You're trying to force people to go into your ecosystem just so they can play them on that. But at the same time, there's so many people tied to the CD Project Red side of things on PC. Um, it gets stickier also, obviously, because they're tied in, I think, a bit with the government out there as well, which I think the red tape on that side of things would probably prevent it from happening as well. But I mean, who knows? Stranger things have happened, right?
Yeah.
We saw we saw an almost $70 billion acquisition proposed, right? Like things have changed in the market. Tactics are different than they used to be.
Real quick,
But
excuse
yeah,
me, forgive me if I butcher your name, but Gogo Poe has a very interesting take. He says that he believes that exclusive in a few years will end. He says it's too costly for big AAA games. What's your take on that, Silent? Do you think there will be no more exclusive in a few years because of the cost of games? I mean, the cost of
I
games are
mean,
getting up there.
at this point, I would argue that exclusives are already not a thing, right? Like as far as Microsoft goes, you already have it day and date on PC as well, usually. So you're seeing it there, and it seems like there's a true. Oh goodness, I butchered the word. There's
Trajectory.
trajectory for Sony to do the same thing. It kind of seems like they're going the same route. So yeah, I I'm not surprised on that by any means. I mean, it definitely seems like the financial side of it of that game is rough for people nowadays. Like obviously development costs are way through the roof in a lot of aspects nowadays. And
Yeah.
it's just it's a lot to put into a single player game if you don't have some sort of ROI or return on investment, like multiplayer aspects, like for Call of Duty, where they've got Warzone or they've got battle packs or they've got skins or things like that. Like if you have some sort of way to recoup some of that cost that you're putting into those games, then it makes sense. But if you don't have that, yeah, I mean, I see a world where those are going to become a little more few and far between. Honestly, like even Gears of War stuff like that, you look at that, they had a bunch of different weapon skins, weapon packs, stuff like that. Even though it was generally more of like a single player or co-op focused thing, the multiplayer has also become a part of the picture because one, it allows them to get into like the e-gaming and stuff like that, but it also allows them to see a return on that investment. So yeah, I would agree with it, but I would definitely say I think it's already in play to an extent. Plume, what do you think?
So I agree to an extent. I think we look at right now what's going on. I think console exclusives are going to be definitely a thing of the past. The only question mark I still have is Nintendo going to follow along these lines, or are they in a category of their own when it comes to exclusivity? Just kind of they have like a different appeal, I guess, a different audience. They appeal to the hardcore gamers, but they also appeal to like families and grandmas and grandpas and stuff. I don't know, but it just seems like they have a different target. But I think exclusives overall will have the ecosystem exclusive thing. Like I think there's still going to be like the Xbox Game Pass where you play on any device except for PlayStation console. And the same thing with PlayStation. You can play on any device except for an Xbox console. So I think that's going to be a thing. And I think on the PlayStation side of things specifically, I believe it was their 2021 results where I think it was 12% or something, 12 or 15% of their PlayStation gamers played first party games. It just shows you the percentage, how kind of small that percentage is that they appeal to. And that 12 to 15% don't play every single exclusive. So they definitely want to expand out how many people are going out and purchasing a God of War. Like imagine God of War Ragnarok, even if it sold 20 million copies, or if it sells 20 million copies, imagine how much more they could sell if they launched it onto PC day one. And I think they're definitely looking at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sour.
Oh, I was just gonna say I agree. I think basically it's becoming more of kind of like the app or the ecosystem rather than the actual console. So like Plume said, and I think you hit it also, it's gonna come to PC eventually, day and date on both sides, and it's gonna come to everywhere else. Of course, I still think they're gonna have their like ecosystem exclusive because at the end of the day, you do have to have something that kind of appeals to different people that you can only have in that ecosystem to kind of bring people in. But you know, the whole thing with console exclusive, that's gonna disappear in a few years.
I I think that's why we see such a large pivot into the Game Pass side of things, right? Is the console is not the main focus for the delivery system of your games now, right? Like you can access those things on your phone, you can access them on your computer browser, like you can access them everywhere. Like if I have a long lunch at work, I'm jumping on to Slay the Spire on cloud through Game Pass. Like it's ridiculous, and it's one of those things where we've talked about it in the past. Is the plastic box of our choice is not going to be the de facto location for you to play these games moving forward. And that's very much where Microsoft has kind of been on this stance, is like they want to reach out to the 2 or 3 billion gamers. You can't do that just by the console side of things. You have to diversify the portfolio and broaden your availability, be it smartphones, be it smart TVs, be it browsers, stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely see that for sure.
Yeah. I think we have the model in front of us
Mhm.
from the movie and TV side of things. I mean, the video games obviously just are looked at what Netflix did, and they're like, okay, we can do this too. The only issue we have with video games is being able to have technology that's good enough to make sure that people can actually play on the cloud on any device, make sure that there's enough internet out there. That's obviously still evolving, but as soon as every year internet technology gets better, more people get access and all that type of stuff. Like they are looking at the Netflix strategy, they're seeing what they did. And then you look at movies and TV shows now, how much exclusivity is there within each ecosystem, right? TV, like certain ones you have to get Netflix for, Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, all these things. So I
Yep.
think we have the model that's already there. We're just going to see video games kind of follow that.
Yeah, I think realistically also, to touch on kind of what you're saying, is like with internet and all that. Obviously, things have gotten better over the last few years or even the last decade. Um, connection, stuff like that. That's obviously still been a sticking point for certain regions, certain areas and stuff. Crazy's mentioned the fact that like it's not even available in his area to an extent. Um, but yeah, I mean, things are changing. I feel like things are changing to an extent now, where eventually we're going to see internet categorized as a utility instead of just an addition, right? Because as of now, like it's not categorized as like a standard utility,
No,
and
you need
I
it
think
to
that's going to
survive.
change. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Like everyone, I mean, you look at my job, your guys' jobs, I'm sure, is like rely on the internet to some form or fashion to do your job. And so it's getting to the point where eventually they'll have to shift it and factor that, it is deemed as a utility, a necessity for our day to day. And as that continues on, as we start to see that shift, I think we'll see more support, we'll see more expansion for internet connection and stuff, and then we'll see some of those expansions for these services too, in a lot of different areas. Just because as soon as it's a capable service for them to be able to like jump onto Game Pass or Netflix or whatever, Netflix or any of those guys are going to jump into those territories as fast as possible, and it'll spread like wildfire. But going back to the gaming side of things a little bit, and some of the purchases and some of those different things. Square Enix. Square Enix. So this is a little bit of a curtail, but Square Enix recently, granted this was a couple weeks ago now, but Square Enix has listed that the Japanese market is no longer sufficient for their sales strategies. So Square Enix has voiced the inevitable, and the Japanese video game market is no longer the company's priority, as it is no longer sufficient enough to recoup the company's development investments and generate a profit. Of which, before we even get to the rest of it, really bad time to get rid of your Western development studios.
For 300 million too.
yeah, a steal in video gaming. The Japanese video game market has changed massively over the years, with majority of gamers playing games on their smartphones and Switch, and stuff such as iOS, Android, those different platforms. They've become the most popular devices for playing video games in Japan. Square Enix now says that it will prioritize the overseas market. Sony also previously hinted that they're focused on Western markets with their PlayStation 5 console. So obviously we're starting to see the shift, right? They're seeing the market starting to dry up on some of the stuff that they offer specifically. I gotta say, like, I feel bad, but at the same time, I also feel like if he had just paid attention to where things were going, getting rid of your Western development studios, even though their numbers didn't meet your criteria, they were turning out decent numbers. I would argue for what the profit seemed to be. Tomb Raider, stuff like that. Like, yes, they cost money for them to make. Yes, they didn't meet their exact goals. But yes, they brought in money, of which when you have other markets that are starting to dry up, man, it seemed like a bad time to put those IPs or those development markets up for sale. Sour. Do you think in a situation like this will be the time that we finally see Square Enix get picked up by Sony, potentially? And the fact that, their actual value at this point is obviously starting to plummet. It'd be a really easy thing for Sony to get in there, give them a sweetheart of a deal, and lock that exclusivity, lock them in as a first party.
I mean, like, I think it was mentioned in the chat. They're basically begging to be bought out by Sony, and now is the perfect time. And they already had a situation where Capcom was almost, Capcom had pretty big problems, and you don't want Square to find a way back like Capcom has, and become a power studio or power publisher again. And you missed the chance on probably getting them cheap now and then making a ton of profit in the long run, because at the end of the day, Final Fantasy, it's a very beloved franchise, but you also have many other dormant, I would say dormant, or other IPs that they own that I believe that if you kind of like reboot them or make them differently, like for example, probably my favorite RPG, now it's kind of in competition with Witcher 3, is Chronos Trigger. And I know a lot of people, when someone bring up the idea of rebooting it and making it with with nowadays graphics, they're like, no, we don't want that because we don't want to change the experience. But at the end of the day, it's the fear that they don't do a good job with it. But if they manage to do a very good, third person RPG with Chronos Trigger, I know at the end of the day, sometimes we gamers, we believe we know what we want, but sometimes we don't even know exactly what we want because then, the studio surprise us with a game. Look at God of War, for example. We didn't want the changes on God of War. And then when they presented us the new vision of God of War, you know, people loved it. And the same thing could happen with many of these older, Square games. And I feel like under Sony, I think that's the best thing that could happen because under Sony, I think they can thrive better because they obviously don't have a clue on the direction they want to go because they sold the Western developers, and now they're saying that the Japanese market is not enough. Like, and then you have the whole thing with they wanted to make games with what you call it this not loot boxes. What you call this?
NFTs
The
and
NFTs and
blockchain.
all, yeah, and blockchain. It's that's not gonna work out. That's not what we gamers want. So that's my take on that.
You mean to tell me that you aren't interested in an NFT based game?
No.
This just in, ladies and gentlemen. Sourblow is against NFT games.
And
Oh, no.
I think I'm right there with you, bud. It blows my mind that that was a stance and that it still is a stance for some folks. I wish Ubisoft the best in that endeavor because it seems like they've decided to jump into that as well. But yeah, no, I think like you were saying, this is definitely a good time for them to do it. You wouldn't want them to suddenly have a resurgence like Capcom if you were Sony. Like if you Sour, put yourself in Jim Ryan's shoes.
oh boy, those some big shoes to fill.
And and in that situation, you're definitely thinking, okay, I want to get these guys at a bargain. I want to get them at a steal. Last thing you want is for them to suddenly have like a Resident Evil 7 moment or like a Resident Evil 2 remake moment where suddenly things start to align and they can actually increase their request. If you come in with a bid, they can be like, oh well, we're actually doing pretty good. We've got some really good games that are coming out. Like this is definitely the moment to strike the iron, right? Strike it while it's hot. Obviously, at the moment, this iron feels a little cold, but you still get those Final Fantasies. You get those different games that, granted, you've already been trying to force as kind of a Sony product, anyways, right? I mean, the last Final Fantasy, what was it? The Final Fantasy like episodic or the series side of things for 7? That's not going to come to Xbox from everything we've kind of seen. It seems like that's just going to skip. So, and granted, there's going to be some Final Fantasy eventually coming back to Xbox, but they've already kind of tied themselves to Sony, and they're just kind of connected with Sony anyways as it is. So it just feels like if they made that agreement, if they bought them out, it would just make sense, and it really wouldn't be too surprising, I don't think, at this point. But yeah, I don't know. Plume, do you think? I'll just pose the same question to you. Do you think this is time to pick up Square Enix as Sony?
I think they are going on the downturn. So if there is any time to pick it up, it is going to be now or in the next, I don't know, couple of months or maybe year until they eventually start turning it around. So it could work out for them. I mean, they're like you guys have already said. You've said all the things as to why I think it would make sense for Sony to purchase Square Enix, with all of the ties that they have with PlayStation, with the exclusive stuff. It's to me, it seems like Square Enix is just a company that is panicking like crazy. They're trying to throw everything out there. They're trying to recover. Their stock has fallen. They're trying to recover for that. Like the business side of things, people are probably worried about what is going on. I think the Marvel games like Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy, they just like, well, I think Avengers lost them a decent amount of money from at least the start. Guardians of the Galaxy obviously didn't do well for absolutely no reason other than maybe they didn't promote it enough. People didn't know about it. They didn't market it properly. I think a lot of people thought that was like another Avengers game, but that was an absolutely incredible game.
Yes.
So I think that's the main reason why they just kind of panicked after that and then sold off their Western studios. They just felt like they're not going to be able to succeed with those kind of IPs. And at this point, they're just in a place where like they're trying NFTs now. That's like their next thing that's probably going to fail. And it's confusing because if you look at, like Sauer said, like the IPs that Square Enix has, if they wanted to turn things around, like look how good Final Fantasy VII Remake did. They would literally just have to do the Jim Ryan virtuous cycle and the Capcom thing where they remake all of these old Final Fantasies and they'll sell like crazy. And I'm sure that will help the
Yes.
company a lot. But seems like they're trying everything out there, see what sticks. They're in panic mode, and it looks like they're right now, like you said, begging to be bought out by somebody so they can kind of just get rid of this sinking ship.
Yeah, I think and this is going to throw a bit of a wrench just based on what you guys were saying, but I think I probably agree with Gogol Poe in the chat, of which I don't really think Sony necessarily wants them as much as they want to use them. I think personally they don't want the overhead. I don't
Yeah.
think they want to deal with all the extra crap. I think they just want to continue to pay them for that Final Fantasy exclusive or Chrono Trigger or Avengers content or whatever and just call it good, right? Because they're able to jump in, they're able to say, hey, we're going to flash our money. You're going to give us this exclusive period. We don't have to deal with if things fall apart for you.
Yeah.
Which is callous, but it's business at the end of the day, and it would make sense that they wouldn't want to necessarily, especially based on what we know with Sony's financials, it would be smart for them not to invest in that big of a company. Granted, it's not as big as some that you could get, but it seems like it would make a lot of sense for them to just continue to support those exclusive windows instead of bringing the entire company in.
Yeah, it's interesting though because all of the stuff's coming out now about them switching direction and wanting to focus more on the West. And you would think that with them making all these deals with Sony, that strategy at the end of the day was working for them because this isn't the first time they've done this, like with Final Fantasy 16, but they just are continuously doing the same thing. But I'm interested with their thought processes, and I wonder why on Sony's side of thing, why wouldn't they consider something like uh, getting Final Fantasy 16 into PlayStation Plus, which I guess links me back to the earlier question. Maybe if this whole thing with PlayStation Plus and stuff that Sony's been doing in terms of reacting to Game Pass and all the moves they've been making, maybe that would have been a game that landed in the service. But because the service is new, they probably made this deal way before that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. Sour thoughts. Do you with that feedback, with Gogol Poe throwing some common sense logic on some of that stuff, you know, dipping their toes in with some of the money hatting it, and then just dipping right back out. Do you think there's a possibility that maybe that's the focus, right? Is just pay them for that exclusive. Don't worry about picking them up. And God forbid, the companies close or whatever, but they at least get their games for their consoles, for their ecosystem.
But then I would say the problem becomes then, what if someone else picks them up? Because, at the end of the day, even though they seem to want to be purchased by Sony, they got a good relationship with them. But at the end of the day, is like, how much, can you hold yourself? if you're in a bad situation, like if you're in a bad situation and maybe you want to go live at your buddy's house, but he doesn't want you to go live at his house, you eventually you're gonna look elsewhere because like you have a bad situation. So I think that could be a problem with them because Microsoft is closing a deal, and at the end of the day, especially now with how Sony was, in this purchasing process situation, they can just be like, you know what? Maybe we should buy Square and just take Final Fantasy away. Or, someone like Embracer or Tencent could jump in and get them. Or maybe even Nintendo could decide like, maybe I should get Square. They do make a lot of good exclusive also for the Nintendo side.
I just want to note real quick, two things. One, I really like how you tied this to the idea of like the couch surfing buddy in college that wants to hang out like rent free. I like that was the correlation that you went with. I enjoyed that. That was awesome. And I forgot the other. I forgot the other one. That one sidetracked me enough. But yeah, no, I see what you're saying. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, time will tell. But we need to continue on because this is a lot of Sony talk that we've had. I feel like we're just not doing enough due diligence to try and cover the other side of things too. So that's why I will go ahead and just announce real quick: PlayStation VR 2 is announced for $550. All right, guys, that was good. I'm happy that we did that. If you guys have anything you'd like to throw in on that, go for it. But yeah, I mean, personally for me, $550. That is an ask.
I think it's like $720 in Canada.
Whoa.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Something stupid like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Or what is it? 74,980 yen.
Oh man.
Which I mean, just to me that sounds painful.
If
like that just
If you do decide to get one, Plume, just let me know. I'm close to Canada. Maybe I could sneak it through the border.
I did get the first one, and I used it for maybe like a week, and then the price dropped on it a couple months later, and then
that hurts.
Is it region locked?
I think so. It would just be whatever if the PlayStation is or not. But
I wonder, because if that's the case, maybe you can score yourself some of that sweet VR2 action for a lower price. I think Ryan would hook you up.
Yeah, I would still have to pay the exchange rate.
Son of a... All right. Well, in that case, you know what? That was enough Sony talk. Let's go to Xbox. Let's bounce to Xbox for a little while, right? Guys, Xbox 2023 roadmap.
Nice.
Looking pretty good, I would say. Now, obviously, I've voiced my worries in the past about this. I'm a little bit nervous that because of how stacked 2023 is, I think we're going to see some pushes, right? We're going to see some stuff get delayed. I think it's almost inevitable with how many big games are coming out during this next year. I don't see it.
I don't
right? Like it.
I'm gonna jump in real quick. I don't think first party wise they will, because I feel like they feel they owe us, and even Phil Spencer said it not too long ago.
So you don't see a world in which Redfall and Starfield get pushed a little bit?
Not past 2023, no.
Oh, I'm not saying past 2023, but I would argue the current listed release windows, I think are going to change on a couple of those for sure. I
Well-
would argue Redfall and Starfield reflect what they were originally supposed to be for 2022.
Well,
See
let's go.
Redfall for summer.
Let's go a little
Starfield
bit through the
winter.
roadmap, and I'll give you
Sure.
my
Okay.
take on it.
Okay. All right. Fine then. Well, so let's see. You want console and Game Pass side of things? You want third party?
Whatever you want to
Specific?
start with. Whatever you want to start
Okay.
with.
Okay. Let's see. So we'll do third party Game Pass games. Wolong, Guilty Gear, Atomic Heart. Atomic Heart, of which I really hope that releases when it's supposed to, but I still get nervous just with the world being the way it is right now. I could see that one getting dinged, but that's just my personal opinion.
I
Stalker
think
2?
that one, Atomic Heart. I think that one, unless something else happens, I think it will be released because it has been already delayed a few times. And I think
Okay.
the fact that they actually gave us a release date, I think they're pretty confident they're gonna hit it.
Sour, do you remember not too long ago when Halo gave us a release date?
So to
Yeah,
Starfield.
but that's a different story.
Do you
That's
remember when
that was
Starfield gave us a release date? Sour.
you gotta be
Do you remember?
optimistic. You gotta be
Do you
optimistic.
remember?
This isn't
remember
Microsoft though. It is the third
Do you
party game.
remember when Star Citizen gave us? Sorry, too soon.
This is a Russian game. I think it's Russian, right? They're very
Yes.
very respectful and they're very straightforward on their takes. They have
but
their
also with life being as it is,
yeah.
with
I understand
global
that.
economic and global situations being as they are, I could see it. Like I know they just announced a more recent release date, but I could still see that getting kicked. I get nervous about it. I really hope it's not the case, and I hope I'm being the grouchy old man that's just like, oh, get off my lawn. Your game's not going to release till 2024. But I just get a sneaking suspicion that we're going to see some of those type of games, like that one, like Stalker 2.
Yeah,
Some
Stalker
of those
2.
ones that are wrapped up in that situation. I don't see a solidified date at this point. I think any flag you put in the ground at this point can be moved. It's not cemented in.
I would be Phil and Xbox. If I would tell the Stalker 2 team to aim, I'm sure they're trying to aim, early 2023 because, their date was, I think wasn't their release date 2022? Or maybe I'm wrong. Okay. I would tell them aim for the holidays. That's
Holiday 2023, right?
Yeah, correct. That's what I would tell the Stalker to, dev
So
team.
Sour, what happens when Starfield releases in holiday 2023?
That's not gonna happen.
They move Stalker to 2024.
It's not gonna happen.
Plume, you look like you have something to say. So what do you got, bud?
I just think all dates are up for debate, because of everything
Yes.
that we've seen. I mean, Starfield came out with like the sexy release date and they couldn't hit it.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's really hard to believe release dates these days. But one game I definitely think is going to come out 2023 and hit whatever date that they announce is going to be Redfall, because we've seen a lot of gameplay on that, and it looks like it's ready. It's pretty much there.
Speaking of that,
faith in Redfall 100%.
Speaking of that, I believe I saw a rumor, or maybe rumors. I don't know if it's confirmation, but they're preparing a beta, which is something
I saw it.
Arcane is not used to. But since this is a cooperate game, that means that is coming soon.
So you factor potentially a beta, maybe January, February, and then maybe like a launch in May, June. summertime.
You know,
So that way you can factor in the feedback that you get from the beta.
you know what I don't know. Maybe this might be crazy. This might be a crazy take, but I think the fact that we're seeing information about a possible beta, what if they're preparing a beta for this holiday because they don't have really nothing big for this holiday, and maybe that can kind of
think we're too
compensate
late.
a little bit.
I think it's
I don't
already
think
way
I don't
too
think
late.
that's enough
I would
anyway,
agree
but
with
it is something.
I would agree it is something, but at the same time, you've missed the window at this point for the zeitgeist. Everything
Yeah.
else is coming out at this point.
Well,
If
if
you're
it's a
gonna wanna make
beta,
a splash,
if it's a beta, I don't think they will want to make a splash because it's a
Well,
beta. They would just probably just
but if this game was originally supposed to come out in summer last year, right? You factor it's probably pretty good. Obviously needs some polish or whatever. We found that some last minute things must have happened because out of nowhere everything just suddenly got delayed. But you figure they must have been pretty far in the process. So if they're gonna release a beta, it's gonna be pretty content complete. If you're going to do that though, you want the most attention on it, right? So that's going to be your January February timeline. Probably not December, because most people are either going to be on vacation or Christmasing or whatever. So you want that attention in January February, which then you think about the timeline. You probably want to get close to summer when people are going to be around and available to play the game, especially where it's an online game. You're going to want to have the most eyes on that game as possible. So summer seems like a good window for it.
Yeah,
Plume?
I think like betas too are a lot of the time they make changes from them, of course, but I think a lot of the time they're used as just a marketing tool to get hype for the people who are going to
Yep.
be playing the game. So if they put it out there and no one's talking about it and not enough people are playing it, it's definitely a wasted opportunity. So they're gonna, I think, pick a dead time in the schedule, which 2023 overall just looks stacked. So it's gonna be hard to think of the best dead time in the schedule, but they're gonna put it out then and then give us the release date for it. But yeah, 2023 is gonna be crazy. I mean, 2022 right now, you even look in November, October, stacked with games. So all those games that got pushed out, got delayed, or we thought there was going to be no games coming out because of all the delays, and we're seeing what's happening right now with all the consecutive releases.
yeah.
Imagine an
See, and
entire year of that.
Yeah. See, and that's where I come at with this. Like I know I sound like the grouchy old man saying like, oh, things are going to get delayed into 2024, and I know it's not a popular opinion, but at the same time, look at how much has been delayed.
Yeah.
Like, unless you want all of the competition to be sitting there eating your lunch throughout 2023, you're going to have to make that decision to delay or stand still. And unless your game's a big game, like look at anything that would be sitting right up next to Call of Duty right now, right? Like imagine if some of these different games jumped right next to Call of Duty. They would get slaughtered. This is the
But
biggest Call of Duty in years.
but this one. But okay, I thought you were talking
But,
about next
but
year.
Well, but I'm saying like if you tie yourself anywhere near to a release date with some of those bigger games that are coming out next year,
Yeah,
it's like what we've seen in the past. It's like when we saw EA play the game with Titanfall 2. It's
yeah.
a death sentence
Unfortunately,
to
yeah.
put yourself next to similar genres or bigger games as
But
far as the budget side of things.
let me ask you this real quick. Out of the first party list that we have confirmed, or at least that we assume that are coming, we got Starfield, Redfall, Minecraft Legend, Forza Motorsport, and then we got that game Ara, which is I believe it's a RTS. Out of those games, do you see any of those games not hitting 2023?
I think the last one you were mentioning, Era.
That one.
I definitely see the RTS resurgence coming back, but I don't think we're there just yet. And I think, especially compared to what other genres we have next year, I think that one would be the one that would be very overlooked.
But I think it was aimed. That one was aimed to hit, I believe, in the first half of 2023. So
Redfall was also aimed to land in the first half.
okay, Fonts.
And no, it's gonna land in the summer.
What about you, Plume? Do you think any of these would not hit 2023?
If I take a guess, I look at those games. I think they will all release. The only one, like, I guess the only one potentially I could see getting delayed again is Starfield.
Okay.
I don't know.
But past 2023?
From a business perspective on Xbox's side, that's the last thing I think they would want to have happen.
Yeah, I think worst case scenario, it comes out December 2023.
Yeah. I think it's going to be cuz they said Starfield's coming out in the first half or like the first quarter of 2023, didn't they? Wasn't that like their estimation as to when it was going to be released after that first delay from November? But I don't think it's going to hit that at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, all those games like Minecraft Legends is going to release. Forza Motorsport's probably like almost done. To be honest, like you're already hearing everyone talk about it. They use like the same engines that they used in the previous games and probably easier to make. Redfall looks really good. Our History Untold, it's RTS game. I don't know too much about that one, so I can't really. I don't have a very good opinion on that one, but Starfield is the only one that I think that like if you're Bethesda, you're Xbox, although from a business perspective, like delaying it to 2024, it would be a bad move. What would be an even worse move is to release Starfield in a bad state. That will kill everything. We already saw what happened with Cyberpunk, and Starfield's like one of those games that's like a generational game that people are going to be talking about forever if they hit it out of the park and if they have a good release with it. It's what they have to do for Starfield.
Yeah,
So
but
I'm the only one I would think potentially maybe.
I'm gonna be honest. I think no matter what, Starfield is gonna have its bugs because of the scale of the game. And
no, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree it's gonna have bugs, but it can't be like game breaking where you can't even enjoy the game.
Yeah. I agree. I would agree with that. Now I think our captain is ready for landing the plane. But before that, if I can have Captain, are you still there? Silent. I think we lost the captain.
I think Crazy Louie somehow got onto the plane trying to kick him off.
Okay, well, I have a little clip I want to show. It's worth an Oscar nomination. We got a Halo TV series clip, which we kind of substituted some of the voice acting, or one of the voice acting. So I hope you guys enjoy. Here we go. All right.
Well,
there you have
it. It looks like I'm going to be watching Halo again or trying to enjoy the show. I didn't like the original one, but I'm in now.
I think personally the voice is more of a Master Chief voice. So I would definitely watch this version better.
Top quality.
You did a nice job, Simon.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Any final take before we land the plane, or?
No, I mean, obviously, like there's a bunch of games that are listed to come out, so obviously there's a ton. I'll run over the list real quick of some of the highlights. I don't know if you touched on this a little bit, but obviously we know that Ghostwire Tokyo is going to end up hitting. We're going to end up seeing, sounds like, so we've got the League of Legends side of things. We've got Valorant, Persona 3 Portable, Persona 4 Golden, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, GoldenEye 007. Valheim, Humankind. We've got indie games side of things that are coming to Game Pass. So we've got like The Last Case of Benedict Fox. We have Planet of
Okay.
Lana, Ravenlock, Bounty Star. The list goes on.
Yeah.
I think again, like that goes back to my concern is like there's a lot of stuff listed for that 2023 window. I don't see everyone being willing to just get buried when it comes to the release dates, especially on some of the indies. And maybe it'll turn out that it's mainly the indies that move. But I feel like there's going to be enough similarity in some of the genres where we're going to see some pushes throughout the year, which is great for 2024. It's just frustrating, and I'm sure you guys run into the same thing as me, but it's like the last couple years have been rough as far as gaming goes. Like, yes, we've gotten good content, but obviously we've seen a lot of things that released Cyberpunk, where things were maybe not at optimal level when they launched, and so it's been hard. Like, some games have come out really polished. A lot of games have come out needing some polish or more polish. And so the idea that we're going to see these games get pushed, like, it's always a good thing if the game gets pushed because it needs more time. But it's rough because I feel like the last few years have just constantly been like moving the goalposts of like, oh, we're gonna have games eventually. Like, if there was a criticism I have for Microsoft right now, I would argue that that's still the criticism that I've had since about 2017, which is it's the same game over and over again of we've got games coming, they're coming, we're investing, we're getting these things going, they're gonna come. But it just feels like the goalpost keeps getting moved over and over and over again. And that's frustrating as, a console owner or a PC owner or whatever. Is like, it's just those delays suck. Like, yes, I've got a good enough backlog to keep me busy. I'm sure all three of us do.
Oh yeah.
Man, I could really use some of those new games. It would be fun to play some of these games that we've been shown for like 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But that's the main thing. I guess I'll throw it to you guys real quick. What's your opinion? Do you think at the end of the day, like, is there a specific game for each of you? I'll just throw this question. Is there a specific game for you guys that we know of for 2023 that you are interested in that you're convinced will not get pushed out of 2023 because of all these changes?
I already said Redfall 100% is coming out, so I'm going to go Redfall. I think it's definitely releasing 2023, no doubt. And they haven't given us an official release date yet, right? So I guess that's a cop-out answer, but
they did what I've always talked about is like, instead of giving me a release date, just give a release window. So I'm thankful that they did that. But yeah, I mean, I don't see that one getting pushed either myself. But Sour, what do you think?
All right, I'm actually gonna go against you, Silent, and I'm gonna say that besides Redfall, I also think Redfall, of course, is not gonna get pushed. But I think the game that could get pushed is actually Forza Motorsport, because we have not heard that is actually coming 2023 confirmed. It's just YouTubers or other people. Where?
I thought they had a beta or like
Yeah, but it was close.
They announced it's going to be in the first half of 23.
No, they did not.
Yes, they did.
No, they did not. But okay, fine. Let's see. But Starfield will come 2023. Starfield will come 2023 for sure. Book that.
November of 2023.
But it's still 2023.
It would have been super cool to see God of War today and then Starfield in 2 days from now and see like what the media and like what the hype was on social media. What was bigger? It's been cool to see that how that played out, but obviously that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
I think that's an easy answer. But anyway, I don't want to get into that.
I think yeah. So before I mention my thought on that one, yeah, Sour, it's listed as spring of 2023 for Forza Motorsport.
Really?
Yes, of which I could see that being pushed to summer, but I realistically don't think that's going to get
Okay.
pushed farther than that, because those guys usually have it pretty much fine-tuned on those releases.
My bad then.
For God of War, though, my God, all I will say, because obviously I've been busy with work, but man, the last week on social media has been messy. It has been really messy going into the launch of that game. A lot of people not willing to accept the fact that it's a good game, and a lot of people very angry about the fact that it didn't get just a perfect 100. And a lot of racism and other stuff, which we won't get into here because that's just too heavy for this show today.
Yeah.
And you know what? We do need to land, but we don't need to crash land. So I don't think we need that extra heft of the God of War racism and such. So, gentlemen, are you ready for this thing to land?
Yeah. Science.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've arrived at our destination. For your safety and comfort, please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened until the captain turns off this live stream. On behalf of Xbox International, we'd like to thank you for joining us on this trip, and we're looking forward to seeing you aboard next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at the same place, your Xbox International or Crazy Louie channel. Now, Sour, I leave it to you for the outros.
Oh man, I've got to do the outros. I'm pretty bad at outros.
Land on someone.
All right. Well, Plume, let's start with you. Where can we find you? And tell our audience about your current goal, which is feasible, not like others, not like Square that wanted their games to make blockbuster money.
Yeah, Plume Network on YouTube. You guys can check me out there, and on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, pretty much all the social medias. And my current goal right now is to try to 10K subscribers by the end of the year. May or not hit it, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, check me out, Plume Network. And I do daily videos just talking about news, Xbox news, all that type of stuff.
All right. Silent. Where can we find you?
Oh man. So more than anything recently, you can find me playing Call of Duty on Xbox Live. If you ever want to play some matches, feel free to shoot me a friend request. I'm Silent Cypher on the service. But I've actually been tooling around a lot recently with TikTok. I'm having some fun on that side of things. It's not as much of a tapped resource or an ecosystem I see as much yet. But there's some pretty cool things with it. I've had some fun with it. I just posted some stuff for Call of Duty. Did an unboxing for the Series Core controller. So if you want to see some of my thoughts and some of my stuff on that, you are more than welcome to find me there. Otherwise, you'll find me doing some voice work here and there on some XBI projects every now and then. And yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Xbox, wherever, all Silent Cypher. I try and make it as easy as possible. But yeah, Plume, thank you so much for joining with us, and I'm really happy to have you as part of our weekly flights. It's good to have you with us. I think we had talked about it previously, but you're a personality that works out really well with us and just jives really well. And I really enjoy your content, and so it's great to have you aboard.
Yeah, it's fun to be here. I'm excited for some more plane rides and crash landings and all type of stuff. Here for it all.
Awesome.
All right, let me pull crazy. How about you, Sour? Oh, me? Anyway, you can find me in Xbox Sourblow 18, also on YouTube Sourblow 18. I don't upload much content there. I just every so often I create trailers and I just post them there. I will post the trailer for well, the clip I uploaded today. Oh, here comes the crazy one. I will upload the clip. I put to there, and I will also upload it here. And I started a page called Role Playing Wrestling, where we're gonna talk wrestling and do some AEW game when it eventually comes out. Which unfortunately, it might come to Game Pass, but maybe it will. I don't know yet. It's a back and forth, but. Yeah, that's where you can find me. You're crazy. What's up, man?
I'm gonna pull up crazy, so crazy got pulled up right now.
No, not you.
You're gonna pull up crazy, so crazy got pulled up.
Oh man, how you doing, crazy? You doing well?
I'm just chilling, man. Having a beer, smoking a cigar, having something but fun. Take a little vacation, watching y'all. Hey, good show, by the way, man. You guys rock.
Thanks, crazy.
Oh man.
You are welcome. You are welcome. You are welcome.
Crazy. What? You're closer to 150 now? You were at 4 at the beginning of the show.
He's at 7 now.
My fifth one today. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh man.
Pictures were awesome, guys. We had a lot of fun. It was hot, but we had a lot of fun. Yeah, a lot of fun. So, should I end the show or what?
Go ahead.
Yeah,
go. Where you?
thing.
Crazy. When you can find me at Twitter at Crazy Gaming, where I say good morning, what's up, everybody, and all that cool stuff. You can also find me on TikTok at Crazy Louis Gaming, my TikTok page. Oh man, I also upload all these cool videos. And last but not least, you can find me here. Oh no, wait. On Mondays, the Xbox special, lunch break special at 12 with Mr. Boomstick but Dave and Fuzzy Belvedere. And last but not least, here with this awesome gentleman at 7 p.m. here on Xbox International Podcast with my brother Simon Cypher, a new panel member, Mr. Boom, and Sourblow. And chat, like always, you guys are freaking awesome. You guys rock. Love you all to death. And like I always say, remember. Let's go. Let's rock and let's get crazy. Yes. See you all next Wednesday. Bye-bye.
See you.
Thank you for listening to the XBI Podcast. Please make sure to like and subscribe on the way out. We'll see you next time.